What is up, everyone? Dan the Card Man back again. Welcome to another weekly news video. I hope you all are doing very well. Now, we've got 3 or 4 things to talk through today. I just want to touch on, I mentioned I'd talk through the Cardporn situation from my last video in a bit more detail today. That's going to change ever so slightly. Just hear me out and then we'll get to that a little bit later on. Now, the first thing I want to touch on are these news out of the graders, the card graders. Now, the first thing we can see here is that PSA have announced that the bulk service level is back. It's at $18 a card. They've got the declared value still in place there. That's both good and bad, in my opinion, for multiple different reasons, but I'm not going to talk through that today. I want to get to the next point very quickly. It does have a 25 card minimum, and it's obviously still the 120-day turnaround, so around 4 months. Now, what's interesting with this is that people are very clearly showing they're comfortable to still go through PSA at the more expensive price points for the extended grading times, right? And I don't imagine this is going to be any different. I still think they're going to get a lot of people flocking to them at this price point. And there's lots of questions and things you can raise around why this is good or bad. I'm not going to talk through that other than the fact that the $18 card service is back. Now, the reason why I want to talk to this is because SGC have also come out with, a new price point. And I'm not sure if they got wind of what PSA was doing, because I think they got announced on the same day or within a few hours of each other. But SGC have come out and now are going to do $24 for their fastest service, or sorry, their slowest service if you want to send in 1 to 9 cards. Now, this reduces by $2 up until the card value is under $3.5 grand, but you can see here all the different price points and basically the turnaround times. Now, this is interesting for a few reasons. Like, I think for the first point of view, it's really, really good that they've come down in price, because they definitely needed to. My personal opinion is I think they left it too late to come down in price, because the fact they've done it at the same time as PSA, was a little bit too slow on their part. And like I just touched on, people have shown that they're still very comfortable to go to PSA because they can retain that return of investment or maximize that return on investment despite, waiting a long period of time. The big thing here for SGC is the fact that they're going to give you your cards back in 5 to 10 business days, which is unreal. And by all reports, they're coming back, a lot faster than that. So if they can stick to that turnaround time with this, volume of cards they're about to get potentially, that's a huge win for them as a business. That's going to be the key to them to be successful long term. Keep that turnaround time, because, like I said, people have shown they're more than comfortable to go to PSA. Now, like I touched on, I think they should have gone down in price a little bit further, and I think they should have done it earlier, because PSA is showing, as will BGS shortly, I'd imagine, that they're going to keep reducing their price points to get back to sort of where they were, 2 years ago, but maybe not with, the turnaround times. That might spell trouble for SGC long term, in my opinion. I think they sat on their hands for a little bit too long. But, we'll wait and see. This is a really good response from them. I think they're going to get a lot of love from it. I'll just be interested to see whether people that have a primarily focused on, flipping cards and return of investment, all that sort of stuff, what this 5 to 10 business day turnaround is going to do for them. Because if they can get their hands on cards a lot quicker and turn them and flip them a lot quicker, that might, start winning them a lot more love from collectors, which means they can then start getting more and more collectors using them over PSA, which then might see the value of SGC 10s starting to rival that of PSA 10s, because at the moment, they're not even close for the most part. Now, again, I think this is a little bit too slow, because you've also got the sleeper, in my opinion, that is CGC and CSG, continuing to win a lot of love. I'm starting to see them being used a lot more on social media, which must mean that a lot more people are starting to use them, obviously, once you start extrapolating that, or it could just be, confirmation bias. But I think they are the sleeper. And we've had some interesting news from PSA also this week regarding now they're going to start grading pop vinyls. You've also had CGC announce they're going to start grading video games. So CGC have a huge foothold from a comic book perspective. Like, they've got so much respect and like an established footprint within the grading community from those two perspectives, or I should say from the comic book grading perspective. They're going to be a sleeper long term. I know I've touched on it in the past, SGC are probably the ones to try and knock off PSA or knock down PSA, but CSG, CGC have a huge backing. Don't sleep on them, because they could be around long term. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do, moving forward as well. Now, like I said at the very start of the video, the next topic is going to be Cardporn and the situation that I discussed a couple of days ago. There's going to be one caveat in the sense that when I mentioned it 2 days ago, I said I'd be talking through this in detail. Now, I received an email this morning around 4 a.m. Australian time. It's Saturday here in Australia. That gives me a bit more information, and that has meant I need to shift what I was going to talk through today. So I'm going to give you the updates as outlined to me in this email, and then we'll talk through this at a later date. These videos come out Sunday morning Australian time, so I need a bit more than, the 18 hours that I had to go through this, because you guys deserve a bit more respect from me with that regard, right? You guys deserve the respect for me to do the research, is essentially what I'm trying to say. Now, to give you some context on this video, 2 days ago, I talked about how Cardporn made this post and they went off a little bit too early. The purpose of my video from 2 days ago was to talk through the power that influencers have as an example and why they need to be careful when they're saying things, because people are going to take what they've said and run with it. Now, to give you some context, Cardporn made this post and they were saying that the guys from InvestorCard, Eddie in particular, were ignoring their questions regarding a Michael Jordan patch auto exquisite card. I forget which year it was from, having been stolen. It's in their possession and they've basically not replied to any conversations from them or the original owner. Now, the reason why this got a little bit messy and the reason why it was included in my last video was because Eddie came out and said, guys, I'm at the industry summit. You need to give me more time to respond. You only gave me 48 hours. I need more time. You got to give me some respect. I don't have an obligation to reply to you immediately. And then Eddie also said, what are you talking about, Cardporn? This card was stolen 8 years ago. It's in a BGS slab now. We don't own the card. It's consigned to us. The person that has it consigned with us is the card's graded. It wasn't graded when it was stolen. So Cardporn did a follow-up post, and that was part of the reason why I said it was a bit weird from them to come out so early. Maybe they've got it wrong, but actually it doesn't look like they have, because there's a bit more information listed on this Blowout forum and as was mentioned to me via this email. Now, to give you some context, Eddie also had a problem with the card being photographed with his face in it, having been stolen. The reason why they've gone ahead and used this photo is because apparently this is the first public photo since the card has been resurfaced. Since it was been stolen, the first time it's ever been seen again was when it is in possession of Eddie's hands. Now, whether that's right or wrong, he'll still put his face in there. That's another question, but that's the justification for why that photo was used. So that's why I want to tell you that. Now, one other thing to mention that I think is really, really important, that I'm not sure if Eddie or InvestorCard knew the truth to this, but the fact they said the card was stolen raw is a lie or misunderstood. Because as you can see in this basically Blowout post, the card was stolen on the way back from having been graded by Beckett, and it's still in the same slab that it was graded by Beckett after it being stolen. It hasn't been sent into a reholder. Now, to give you some context, I feel like I've said that a few times in the last couple of minutes, but basically the card was stolen by a guy, or stolen from a guy in Italy back in 2014. He used the guy in the US to grade for him at Beckett. The guy sent him a microphone instead of sending the cards back. Now, that's where it gets a bit strange, right? Did Eddie and InvestorCard know that the card was graded before it was stolen? Who knows? The other thing to quickly point out as well is what this person has said in the email is that, there's a rumor out there that the card has also been shown publicly. I'm not sure if by the owner that consigned it to InvestorCard or not. I don't have the answer to that right now, but it's been shown publicly with one of the other stolen cards from the same, shipment or same lot for this guy in Italy as well. So this is where it gets a bit interesting. And one of the other things the email does state is that the police report is also listed somewhere in this Blowout post. I forget which page it's on, but there's also some conflicting and incorrect information within that police report as well. So there's a lot more story, or there's a lot more to this story, I should say, than what is currently being told, which is why I need to take a little bit more time to get to the bottom of it. So hopefully I can give you an update shortly, but there's a lot to unpack there, right? And I'm not sure if I already mentioned, but the guy who emailed me, I'm not going to name you, but if you do want to be named or you want to clarify some of the information or add some information that I may have missed, please drop it in a comment down below and I'll pin the comment for you as well if that's what you want. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to hold off, right? Because there's a lot more information here. I don't feel super comfortable right now because I don't feel like all the facts are there. And like I've said in the past, you guys deserve the respect from me to do the research, right? So I'm going to do my best to get to the bottom of this as much as I can, but those clarifications need to be made. Like I said, I'm curious to see whether Eddie did in fact know that the card was stolen raw or graded, because that's a big thing to misspeak on in my opinion. If he did know the card was stolen, graded, and it's still in the same serial numbered slab, that's a huge red flag in my opinion. I'm not saying he's done anything wrong, because it may have just been a misspeak on his behalf, because he obviously seemed a little bit passionate, a little bit upset, rightfully so, given that Cardporn could have gone off early, right? Or from his perspective, he might not have any information, so he's thinking, I'm basically being accused. But at the same time, if that is essentially what has happened, you'd think if you don't have any information, you're not going to go off and go on camera and start talking before you know all the facts. So who knows with this one? I think it's going to be a watch this space. I'm not accusing anyone of anything directly. It just seems a lot more questions to this than what we initially thought. So please share your thoughts on this down in the comments below if I did miss anything or if you have any thoughts on this yourself. And as I always say, I've got an email down there like this individual did. Please email me, please reach out and raise some matters with me, because the key purpose for this channel is to call out negative behavior within the hobby, to call out scammers, to call out scumbags, try and educate as many people as possible so you guys don't get taken advantage of. That's my main purpose within the hobby. Yes, I do show collections and some unboxings here and there, but my main purpose is to make sure that people don't get ripped off. So if you have any information around that or concerns or things you want to raise with me, please drop it in the email and we'll get to the bottom of this. And, try and make the hobby a better place one day at a time. Now, I rambled quite a lot. I say that a lot. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate all your support. See you in the next one. Cheers.